Okay, I want to go ahead and get into now showing you the sheet from last week, the wild card weekend correlation sheet on this particular spreadsheet. Reason I would do that is only to show you as far as what a lot of people made mistakes correlating. My last article on wealthyfantasyfootball.com, there's a correlation article to help you a little bit better understand there. There's a lot of things correlate, such as, for example, rushing attempts to rushing yards, especially with running back and receiver to quarterback type scenarios, as we see here in a sheet. For example, last week, well, any week, probably related to this week, Dak Prescott correlates, even though it's not a 1, but very well with a 0.36 to Amari Cooper. And that's about as good as it gets on this sheet as far as any two players correlating actually together and their fantasy points. But what a lot of people do is they'll not, and I say, it's obvious that you don't want to stack putting together a Dallas, like a Dak and Cooper, stacked together with the Seattle defense, because it very negatively correlates along with any of the not all of some of the other players. It may negatively correlate, as indicated by red or the negative, or green and the positive number, so above 0. So here in this case, the Dallas DST right at the top, to point out, does correlate just fine with Cooper at the very top here, and actually has a 0. Interestingly, see Dallas with Dak Prescott is a 0. So there's no correlation between Prescott and the Dallas defense having a good game. However, there is between a very positive, 0.08, but it's something, as a positive, Ezekiel Elliott having a good game with the Dallas defense. But even though these numbers don't show here, it's pretty safe to say that if a team gets blown out 30-0, you should be fine correlating. Let's say they do blow out possibly what team are they playing? I can't even remember. Let's see. Oh, the Rams. If that were to happen, probably not, because many people don't bet on it. But, as we've seen last week, there are some blowouts. And so, now getting back to that sheet. So what would happen in the case of a blowout is that maybe not in terms of this correlation, but that will happen in any case. So the DST providing you very good playability and fantasy points along with the offensive players on the team. So that's in that case. But so you can look to see here on this sheet. I'll show you how to get to that. I'm just going to have you go to wealthyfantasyfootball.com to get this sheet, and you can also get for the positional, breakdown rankings as quarterback. I've already showed here in the picture on the site. Let's look at the running backs. This is by default. You got Elliott at the top, Kamara, Gordon, then Mack, Eckler. Makes sense. So the trick is, if you want to say, obviously getting players in a lower salary range that will do you well, like with Mack here, has a 100 ranking with it, playing the third worst defense, interestingly, versus the running back in the fantasy position, Kansas City. And so you can look and see all this information yourself. I'm not going to get into it a whole lot, but just to show you what could happen based on these particular algorithmic values, and go forward there with that for your divisional playoff round, so you can be successful, hopefully, with especially those correlation tips moving forward now into the divisional round of the playoffs, and get your best setup for these. Take some chances and risks with some teams. I would recommend maybe some blowout, a couple. Pick which games are most likely to do so with as much knowledge as you can gather out there. If you need some help with that, I would recommend going to the Sports Line, popular site for me and for some people, and figure out if you want to use their picks and odds, NFL odds, to see which teams have a possibility of doing that. If you're more concerned about picking teams that are having a higher score, if you expect that in some of these games and close games, then you can correlate offensive players in those matchups, but just stay away from the defense there in that case. All right, so to make sure you are doing that, and enjoy your divisional round.